Hello, hello, hello. Um, so I'm gonna go a little bit off from the health stuff. This is something I want to get into as well. Is sort of the philosophical spirit. I really don't like the word spiritual, but um, almost first principles and also psychological aspects of health, because it's all connected, right? Why do we want to be healthy? What is the point of it all? Also, what are our underlying beliefs, subconscious programming? This is very important stuff, and I think it plays a role in living our best lives and doing the best that we can. So I like to call it, I guess, subtle nutrition. It's not just the food stuff. There's all kinds of other aspects. It's not just food and exercise and being feeling happy. As much as feeling happy is a big part of it, but there's several layers to this. There's also the light environment that you're in is extremely important. I'd say probably just as important as diet. Um, and yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this in another video. I don't want to worry too much about not repeating myself and stuff like that. I'm just gonna do these videos one by one. And so I want to read something that I wrote years ago. This is, I think I must have been like 12 or 13. I wrote a lot back then. I thought a lot. I like to say that the root of it came back to the fact that around 5 years old, something about my personality got me obsessed with figuring out if people were lying to me about if Santa Claus was real or not. And when I figured out that he wasn't, didn't take long, I realized everyone was lying to me. And so I just started questioning everything. Um, I don't know if that's actually the root of it, but I like to explain it that way. So I'll just read it and we'll go through it a little bit afterwards. So, the fundamental issue, as far as I can tell, is that the fact that anything exists at all makes zero sense in the context of modern rationalism. Our current logic follows cause and effect, right? Chronology, um, kind of a mechanism, a mechanistic perspective. And that dismisses magical thought, of course. That something can come out of nothing, that this is because of that. So, but isn't the whole idea of the Big Bang, creation of the universe, kind of irrational? It's something out of nothing. Sure, there was the point of infinite density, all that. Anyways, they can fancy it up with terms like point of infinite density in a complete vacuum or something like that. But if we really want to keep things pragmatic, then there has to be a beginning and an end. Based on how we synthesize all information, how we break down and try to figure out how things work, there's always a beginning and an end, a cause and an effect, a consequence. So, as they say, making heads and tails of it, right? That's where that expression comes from. So, where did that point of infinite density come from? Furthering this perspective, somewhere back in time had to begin. It must have come from nothing. Or no, you say there was a thing before that. But then where did that come from? This is a classic tale. Someone sent me. So I'll read it afterwards. But it's like how kids can ask why forever until you just tell them to shut up, because because there is no end to it. Anyways, So what was before the thing, and before that, does it go on forever, or did it pop out of nothingness? Both are technically insane based off of a rational perspective. But what other options are there? What other options are there than either the universe goes back infinitely in some form or another, probably transforming from one shape to the other, or that it came from nothing? And both of those are incredibly difficult to conceive of based off of a rational, logical perspective, which tries to break everything apart and see things in terms of isolated parts. So yeah, both are insane, but what other options are there? We're left simply to marvel stupidly and appreciate. Everything slash existence is the very definition of a miracle. Either it popped out of complete nothingness, or it is infinite, or it is something completely beyond our comprehension, or all three, or a combination of them. Like, really, what other option is there? And this basic point, I understand that it might be coming completely out of left field talking about this, but the underlying perspectives that we have in life, I like to say we're all philosophers if we're aware of it or not. I don't like the word philosopher. It sounds pompous, but anyways. Our limbic system, the back of our brain, the reptilian brain, the animal brain, whatever, the monkey brain, whatever you want to call it, it develops a map of reality, of how things work, how reality functions. With you knowing it or not, it's imprinted into your subconscious, and it directs you, if you like it or not, throughout your life. It will manipulate your emotions, what you're attracted to, and I hear people say all the time, I do what I want. It's this whole point of pride nowadays with our culture. Yeah, but like, do you even know why you want what you want? Do you know, like, who's directing your desires? And should you want what you want? Is it worth wanting what you want? Yeah, you have to question these things. So either that happens subconsciously, your consciousness either builds, it can build this perspective from so many different types of points, so many different. It can be through repetition, through the media, through your parents, your family, your community. It can be through extrapolation, like you see something happen. It's kind of like we say, oh, I see smoke on the horizon, so there's probably fire. It's you get how that works. But little by little, it builds an overall perspective, and often that's a very chaotic perspective, especially if you don't consciously work with it. That's the exciting part, is if you work on philosophy, self-awareness, awareness of what you believe and what your reality map is, then you can fix it here and there, as long as it's as long as you can convince yourself properly. You can use actual philosophical argumentation to further it. You can change your reality map and end up living a much happier life, feeling much better about your goals, knowing why you want what you want, and why you don't want what you don't want. But all to say, behind all of that are the big questions in life. And I know people hate talking about this shit, but it's disturbing to all of us. You can't avoid it. You can create a day-to-day lifestyle and surround yourself by people who don't give a shit about any of this stuff, or say that they don't. You can medicate yourself, you can drink, you can work all the time to avoid these things, but in the back of your mind, the reason why you're avoiding them in the first place is because you have a dysfunctional reality map that doesn't actually work well with reality, so you don't get results, and then that just furthers the perspective, because the whole issue in the first place is that I think a lot of people have become extremely nihilistic. We feel like there is no point to any of this, to living and to asking the big questions and to following your dreams and all that kind of shit. Um, and I really want to get to the root of that because I've had to face this kind of shit just to deal with my own health problems. The only reason why I had the determination to get through everything I've been through to get where I am is because I was really hardcore about thinking about this stuff, and luckily enough, my mother teaches Vedic philosophy and all this kind of stuff. So ultimately, the perspective I built was my life is shit. I hate existing. I don't really feel like I believe that anything is worthwhile. But then when I really thought about it, it's like, then why does any of this exist and all that? I came to this point, this thing I'm telling you about that I wrote when I was 12, that the fact that anything exists at all doesn't make sense. CERN, the Giant Hadron Collider, the people working there came out, I think it was a year or two ago, and they said technically the universe shouldn't exist, but it does. So based off of basic logical thought, the kind of thing that the kind of process that our brain constantly uses to try to scheme and be and figure out how to live and like how to get resources and look good socially and all this kind of stuff. That basic way of thinking doesn't actually apply to the very basic fact that reality exists. So, anyways, to apply this to my life, the fact that I couldn't deny that the fact that anything exists at all is miraculous in itself. Maybe of course there's terrible things about it, but that simple fact told me, well then I can't rely 100% on my basic rational perspectives. They're useful for sure, but hey, maybe there's something much better out there that I can't even imagine. So I better start fucking working hard at getting there. And I mean, I gave up so many times, but I just that basic knowledge that there is an almost I guess the word ineffable quality to life, something that is so much better than anything I can reduce it and crunch it down to. That this basic philosophy just kept me coming back, and I just kept trying things, but you can tell people to just keep working and failing and all that. That's a big thing in the entrepreneurial world nowadays. Fail more, it'll get better. But what is the motivation for all that? You have to feel like there might be something worthwhile behind it, despite all of that shit. And the best thing is to come back and have a basic philosophical belief that like this is the best way. This is the best way. Just keep trying things. Keep living. Keep enjoying and how do I say like getting your fingers into life. It wants you to be part of it. It wants you to get involved. So yeah. What is the attitude behind health? I think attitude is one of the only things that you can control in your life, and attitude is a very philosophical thing. Look into Stoicism. That's a big. It's very close to a lot of what I talk about. It's using everything that happens to you, no matter how bad it may seem. There's an old story, an old Chinese story, where some old man. Some old farmer was just living in. Things would happen to him. I think it was yeah, his son was about to get drafted to war, and then what happened is oh no, okay, got this wrong. his son who works for him on the farm breaks his leg, and then everyone's like, "Oh, that's terrible luck. You're gonna have to work so much harder now." And then the old man always responded, "Good luck, bad luck. Who knows?" And then the war came along, and because his son had a broken leg, he didn't get drafted. And then everyone was like, "Oh, you're so lucky, finally." And then he was like, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" And something else happened, and it just kept going back and forth like that. I don't know if that story even has an end, but all to say, do the shit. Work on your attitude, work on your philosophy, and it will help with your health, and it'll help with everything else in your life. So yeah, if you guys want to talk more about this specifically, let me know. It's something I'm going to talk about a lot, no matter what. But any questions in particular, it really does come down to this. Nutrition is so superficial. It's very useful. It's a great tool, but if you don't change the way you see things, there's no point in the end. It's what you get healthy, and then what do you do with your life? You go and seek money and resources. Then you're just on the hamster wheel again of looking for something to fill the hole in the moment, and it never really does. Like there's a lot deeper, more important things than this. Get to know yourself. Get to know how you really see things deep down. So yeah, fucking rock on, y'all.